Well, thank you so much for having us here this evening to be your hosts. It's always an honor to be asked to do something like this. And of course, it's always a wonderful occasion to be able to pick up something new for your wardrobe.
Looking good, baby!
Don't laugh. This is the most comfortable I have ever been at one of these events. So thank you very much, Don. Like always, you know what's going on, and I'm sure I will get some use out of this, so thank you.
As you're all aware, we are here to celebrate our friend and to celebrate the legacy of this extraordinary organization and to push it forward into the next generation of leadership and all of the exceptional art and community they will build. We are grateful to be a part of it. We are grateful in our various ways to have interacted with Don, with the members and company of CityRep, and we cannot wait to be of service to you in the near future. But tonight, I want to make sure that we focus on this gentleman because he has done a lot of work for a lot of nothing. And we often forget to take a moment to praise those people when they're in our midst and we have their attention. And since we've been separated for a while, tonight we're going to do that. I mean, if you've ever seen, professionalism at its height, that's this image right now, Mr. Donald Short.
From a board meeting, can't you recognize
Speaking of which, over the course of the evening, we will talk a little bit we will hear from some of our friends from the past, some of our friends that are bringing us forward into the future. We have something really special that we want to share with Don and with you, and we hope that you will enjoy the evening. But we had to kick this off with representation of the Oklahoma City Repertory Theater Board of Directors. And so we couldn't think of anybody better to do that than the board president, Mr. Cliff Hudson.
Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Ruth. Ruth, after also a couple of decades involved, Ruth is heading off. And I've made several jokes of her departing about now being ruthless. No, okay, I got it. Thank you. And thank you for laughing. She laughed at it too. That's good. For those of you I've not met, I guess Jerome just said that, my name is Cliff Hudson, so it's a pleasure to meet you all, those of you I haven't met before, and a pleasure to be with you this evening. It's also an honor to be here this evening, an honor to honor Don and his contribution to so many things. I'll talk about it in a few minutes here. Don and I first met just a few years ago when Gene Rainbolt invited my wife and I to a CityRep production, and I was very impressed with the quality of the production. It was a delightful evening, and little did I know at that time that my engagement, would continue to pick up from there. Once my company was acquired a couple of years ago, Gene then approached me and said, you need something to do, And I should have been a little more suspicious, so. But he introduced me to Don again then, and we had quite a budding relationship from there forward, and it's been a delightful one. It's been a delightful one for a whole series of reasons. In my work career, I've been accustomed to meeting with and working with people who like to build things. And I've been accustomed to working with people who do so on a sustained basis. And boy, is it ever true about Don in his 20 years of his service to CityRep, and really a service to the theater generally, but to Oklahoma City as well. The role of the theater, I think, is a critical one in our society, and it perhaps always has been, but I think it becomes more critical recently in reading a book, the title of which I think will stand out for you, called The Plague Year. This is a relatively recent book by Lawrence Wright. And it struck me in reading the passage in the book talking about, surprisingly, theater in that context. His comment was this: Social scientists have pointed out the decline of membership in clubs, unions, civic organizations, scouting, and churches. The bonds of community have been fraying for decades as people retreat into their virtual lives and politics become a main source of identity. Theater, though, still brings us together. A pretty fascinating point, from my view. Theater still brings us together, he says. That experience can't be digitized. Being together, hearing a laugh or a sob caught in a patron's throat is solidifying. And when the house lights come on and we stand to look in each other's faces, there's acknowledgement that our feelings are shared and we've melded, at least for that moment, into a community again. And so it is with Don, so much that we owe him, not just for the artistic base that he has built, that many of us will work to honor, to continue to build, and not just for the exceptional foresight that he showed 20 years ago with others in forming this organization. I think we owe Don a lifetime of thanks for his sustained contribution to American theater, and also for building a greater sense of community in Oklahoma City. Don, thank you. Now, it's also my pleasure this evening to introduce another person. Introduce one person, say thank you to Don. Because when Don made it clear what his path was going to be, we put out a national advertisement for the artistic director position with CityRep. And many of you may know we received 65 applications for that position, which I find just extraordinary and a wonderful statement for what Don and team have built here. 65 people applied. With those applications online, we narrowed the pool to 16, just been looking at the information they had each supplied. From those 16 group of us that were kind of the initial review folks, and I have to say quite a wonderful opportunity getting to work with Max on this process, because that was an intense process and an intense time. At any rate, the 16 were narrowed down to 10. And from that 10, Max and I and Seth Gordon narrowed it down to 6. The 6 were interviewed by our search committee, who in turn narrowed it down to 3. And then once those 3 were selected, we had each of them come to Oklahoma City. We waited until March when we could try to do as much as we could outside, and then narrowed it down to 1. I'm not going to take it below 1. You know, once you get to 1, you're down to 1. So, you know, at any rate. But the delightful thing, not only having such folks from Seattle and New York, Savannah, California, people from all over the country, even Texas, even people in Texas were interested in the job, So, but what a delight it was to have this national audience that was so interested in the position, but also what a delight it was to have someone interested in the position who has developed an extraordinary career and also yields from Springfield, Missouri. So what a pleasure it is to introduce Kelly Kerwin, who, as I mentioned, does come originally from Springfield, Missouri, by way of Chicago with her Bachelor's of Fine Arts from DePaul, and years later then working at the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago, but also by way of a Yale Master of Fine Arts, her time in New York City, then working at the Public Theater. So what a delight it is with the base that Don has built and with the brand that we have in our community with CityRep Theatre, what a delight it is to have so many people interested in following in his footsteps. And so this evening, many of you already met her, but I'd like to introduce Kelly Kerwin. Kelly?
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you all so much for accepting me into your community. Everyone I've met who's been the most generous and friendly, most of all, Don Jordan. When I first met Don, it was in March when I was here on my interview, when my husband Edward and I rolled in the night before. It was a 79-degree situation. It felt wonderful. We were like, Oklahoma City, we could get used to this. And so the next day when we were eating outside, as we ought to be for social distance purposes, I felt like my blazer would be enough. And, you know, I wanted to look my best. And then I still was shivering, and Cliff and Don were being quite polite and pretending that they didn't notice, and I was doing everything I could to, you know, try to warm up at the table. And then it just became evident that this was a woman trying to be at her best, shivering. And so Don immediately got up, ran to his car, and got an extra coat, which I then wore for the duration of the meal. And though the sizing of it absolutely is relatively in fashion these days, it was black, so it did go with my outfit. And that was my first interaction with Don, and I just think that really speaks to his testament of his generosity, his kindness, his ability to problem solve, to beg, borrow, and steal, to fix whatever needs to be fixed. And it really made me feel like, wow, this theater has been in such great hands for over 20 years, and it would be an honor to get this job and move to a city with ridiculous weather. I mean, I lived in Chicago before. I thought I could handle this, but we'll see. We're getting there. So I don't know how many of you have started a theater company before, but I came up in Chicago where everybody has started a theater company. You throw a rock, you hit a theater company, which is one of the reasons Chicago is so dangerous, because people are just throwing rocks at theater companies. Ruth, you're going to know very soon. But as so often, these theater companies, they're started by artists who want to make work, and they get together to make this work, and then it fizzles out, that sort of thing after a few years. And the origin of that feels a little like Oklahoma, but it doesn't feel any fizzle. Like there's been over 20 years of Oklahoma City repertory theater making work, by hook or by crook, and that is just an absolute testament to Don Jordan and his leadership and his tenacity and his strength. And as he's been lovingly telling people, I'm the sucker that is now taking the torch from him to continue making theater, professional theater in Oklahoma City. And I'm so honored, and I feel like the luckiest person in the American theater right now that I get to step into that position, and as we've been saying, build the second story of the house, if you will. So he's laid an incredibly strong foundation. He's accumulated an amazing group of people, many of whom I've met on our lunch tour, which if you haven't been on a lunch tour with Don, I highly recommend it. And it's just been really wonderful meeting all of the people who Don has touched throughout, over 2 decades of working here. So he did once mention that his favorite film is It's a Wonderful Life. So I just want to end this to Don Jordan, the richest man in town.
Many of you have heard the story of the creation of Oklahoma City Repertory Theater Group. Richard and I had the pleasure of hosting that New Year's Day brunch that brought together all the old theater friends from OCU who helped to inspire Don to run to his car and grab that yellow pad and start a sign-up list for the creation of a new equity theater in Oklahoma City. What he doesn't usually share is that the rest of us had all had a few mimosas before he passed that list around. But Don was the one who listened when we brainstormed what we wanted. Don was the one who followed up and got us on a schedule to meet regularly at Michelle McNally Wilson's home to do the incorporation. It was Elaine Fleiter and James Tyra working on creating the bylaws and the taxes, and Jackie West and Michael Jones organizing how the office was going to run. Charlotte Franklin helped to start all the fundraising. Russell Webster and Kirk Rogers helped with the creation of our logo, our new look. Jonathan Beck Reed encouraged us all to talk to all of our friends in the industry. And we all worked to create that first season. We were all there, and Don is generous to always remember to mention us. But it was Don who did the majority of the work and created the theater that CityRep became. The theater could have no better man to deem the father of Oklahoma CityRep. He has guided us through infancy. He helped with all the growing pains of introducing full-time professional theater and equity contracts to Oklahoma City. Don is loaded with homespun wisdom, and as he has often said, high tide floats all boats. And it's his sincerity in that creates the waves that have grown and traveled away from CityRep and to all theater in Oklahoma City and has raised the quality of theater in our city. Don shares my love of education, and he's gone above and beyond to mentor and assist students and educators to create a new generation of theater lovers and theater professionals. He's the model of grit and perseverance. He's the greatest puns man of all time. He's always ready with a joke and a hug. We have had serious artistic disagreements, but they have all been resolved with smiles because they always occurred because we both wanted the very best for the theater, for the production, for the cast, for the crew. He is selfless when it comes to his dedication to the theater, and it's an amazing lesson for all of us. When you listen to all the testimonials tonight, everyone's going to talk about what Don's friendship means to them. And an outsider might think, wow, Don just hired all of his friends to work at CityRep. The truth is, new talent was always working on the stage at CityRep. It's just that by the time the production's over, you can't help but see Don as your newest friend, your supporter, your colleague. Don's greatest talent is that he is as generous as being a friend and a human being as he is at being a theater artist, a model of integrity. The world's a better place because of Don, and we got to work side by side with him. I am happy to be here tonight to honor Don Jordan. And in all sincerity, I say, to a great entertainer, a great humanitarian, and my dearest friend for 30 years. I love you, Don.
Don Jordan, Robert McCarter here. In case you don't remember me, here's my photo ID. Founding Artistic Director Emeritus. Congratulations, Don, on 24 years leading the Oklahoma CityRep, one of my favorite places that I've ever worked at. First became familiar with the Rep through Steve Emerson, did a fundraiser for you guys about 10 years ago, and then in the fall of 2015, I had the pleasure of playing Pseudolus in your production of Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, with an incredibly talented cast, most of them far younger than me, who were very patient with my dancing skills. It was a very challenging time in my personal life, so it was an oasis of joy working there. Now, I know that some say that you lack the requisite character flaws to be an artistic director of the theater. For example, you are too sincere and kind, considerate and generous, rather than how you should be as a leader in contemporary theater, devious, hypocritical, self-aggrandizing, power-hungry. But I didn't agree with that. I thought you had all the artistic skills for leadership, and you just did it in an extraordinarily kind way. So enjoy your retirement. You've had a wonderful and memorable career. I'm sure they'll miss you, but I also want to say to your successor, Kelly Kerwin, congratulations. I understand you have none of the requisite character defects to run the theater as well, and I wish you all the luck in the world. So cheers, Don.
Jordan, Denise Lee here. I am so honored to be part of a tribute to you, my friend. You are clearly one of the kindest, most compassionate, most committed people I have ever met. I remember when you asked me to come and work at Oklahoma City Rep with Avenue Q. It was my first time performing there. I knew nothing about Oklahoma City. And now I love it as if it were my second home. I thank you for that opportunity and for the opportunities we've had to work together through Visions for Change and community conversation. So I know our work is not finished there. You have been a light to this entire community, to the Dallas community, to the Oklahoma City community. I know that that light is only beginning to shine brighter as you'll have more time now to do other things, and the next phase of your journey is going to be even brighter, I am sure. I thank you for the guidance and inspiration you've given me, and I look forward to working with you, to lunching with you, and to seeing lots more theater with you in the future. So for you and the lovely Laurel, here's to the beginning of a brand new journey.
I want to say congratulations to you on your retirement. I honestly did not think that you would ever retire. I thought that you would work forever. But I'm glad that you're taking some time for yourself, for Laurel, for all the wonderful other creative endeavors that you're going to make. And I want to say thank you to you from the bottom of my heart. I have cherished our friendship and your mentorship over the last, decade plus. Thank you for answering the crazy email from a young director, and for taking me under your wing. The time that I spent with you at CityRep has been so influential on my life and my career as a director and as a theater artist. And I cherish that, and I cherish our friendship. Congratulations again, and thank you for the gift that you've given to Oklahoma City and to the theater world.
If you were to look up the definition of what it is to be a good person, Don would be there as the perfect example. He is an incredibly generous and kind person, a great friend, and a consummate professional. Like his parents before him, he believed in treating people right and teaching along the way, and he's done both of those things as a friend and a colleague, and as the artistic director and founder of Oklahoma City Rep. Don's always the best person to have in the audience when you're doing a show. He is the most supportive and kind audience member you could possibly have. But even better, he's a joy to work with. And that's what led me and my wife to Oklahoma City Rep several times in the past. It was a home, an artistic home for us, and a much loved place to visit and revisit. He had a very high standard for that place, and along with that high standard, that high artistic standard, also came the demand for teaching and being a mentor for the next generation of performers and designers, directors, technicians, and producers. And you can't possibly put an accurate value on his impact, not only to the Oklahoma City arts community, but also to the DFW arts community. And he will be missed greatly as an artistic director, but I also know he's not going anywhere, and I look forward to seeing the next chapter for him, as well as the next chapter for Oklahoma City Rep. So Don, congratulations, my man. You deserve every bit of joy and relaxation that retirement brings you. And well done. Well done, friend.
Hi Don, congratulations on your well-deserved retirement. I first worked for CityRep as a lighting designer when I was in college doing a co-production with Oklahoma City University of The Last Night of Ballyhoo. And then the next fall, Don hired me for my first professional lighting design at CityRep. I believe that was November, the show. And then he hired me for my subsequent second professional lighting design and introduced me around to directors in Oklahoma City and hired me as the ME for the season. So thanks to Don, I am a professional lighting designer and living in New York City, and I cannot thank Don enough for everything he's done for me in my career. Congratulations, and I am sure CityRep will do wonderful things with the foundation that you have created for it.
I first met Don at the Mule Barn Theater in 1982 doing 5 shows in repertory, and he was also my roommate in the dorm in which we were housed. And he heard many a thing that he has used his wonderful forbearance to keep to himself all these years about what he might have heard, right? Anyway, I think Don is one of the funniest people I've ever worked with. I think he's one of the kindest people I know. And for someone to have a dream, as he had, to create a theater in a place he loves and to do theater in a way he loves is one of the finest achievements anyone could have. So proud of you. I love you. I miss you. I'll see you soon.
We'll hear more this evening from friends who weren't able to make it with us. But at this time, please welcome to the stage one of the directors from the inaugural season of Oklahoma City Rep, and also the actress who played Mae West in Dirty Blonde. And you will have known her from her work having directed both I Love You, The Perfect Now Change, and then most recently, a brilliant, Every Brilliant Thing. Well, I couldn't say that right. Every Brilliant Thing, which I loved, by the way, Miss Linda Linder.
All right. Well, the last time I was here, it was kind of with a cane, and it was to direct Every Brilliant Thing, and I was really blessed to do that. So thank you for having me here this evening. And Don, you know I love you almost as much as Laurel. I think she hits the top of the case on that. But we've talked about you a lot of times, so it's okay. I am thrilled to be able to be here this evening and celebrate Don, celebrate CityRep, and celebrate a theater that can come from nothing and become what CityRep has become, not only to Oklahoma, but to the national arena of theater. And it all is really due to Don Jordan. And I hope everyone understands that. I hope that everyone understands the scope of his work, of his dedication, of his skill set, of his kindness, of his amazing ability to bring people together to create something, whether it's from scratch or whether it's from an old classic. He has been able to bring, I think, a brilliant, brilliant level of talent and professionalism and creativity to CityRep Theatre. I met Don at Lyric Stage when Don was stage managing for Steve Jones, and he kept that theater together too, but he was PSM, and he actually also sweetly introduced my husband and I, Bill Jenkins, during that show. And so we would be backstage and he'd say, what do you think about Bill? Yeah, I kind of like him. He's kind of cool. So I'm pretty happy because next year will be my 20th anniversary with Mr. Jenkins. So it's a really nice thing. So thank you, Don, for that. Also, we kind of came to this inaugural production of I Love You, Perfect Now Change after Ruth and the whole group of people had gotten together, and Don said, let's create something here. Let's create theater in Oklahoma City for those professionals who have gone away and come back, for those budding professionals that are here in all of the amazing school programs and college programs that are here in Oklahoma. And as a friend of his in Dallas, he said, let's go to have lunch at Ojeda's. I've got an idea for you. So we did, I don't know, bi-weekly, maybe monthly lunches at Ojeda's, and he'd say, I'm thinking about this. And I would say, I think that's a great idea. So I had done I Love You, Perfect Now Change for almost 3.5 years at Theater 3. And he said, I need a show that draws audiences in, that is an everyman show that everyone can relate to, not only theater people, but just normal people who come to the theater and say, oh, that's me. Oh, I'm funny. Oh, okay. Do you want a divorce now? No, I don't want to. Okay, cool. So we brought I Love You, Perfect Now Change here to make some money for CityRep and get it going, and to also just bring that kind of entertainment to the community. And we were lucky enough to have an amazing cast: Lisa Fox, the late Michael Jones. Dennis Kenwright who was also from Dallas, and we created an amazing thing. And that was kind of the beginning of CityRep, and it's just gone uphill from there. Don has brought artists from all around the world here. He's brought artists like Terry Bibb, who came from Oklahoma City, went to New York, made her fame and fortune, and then came back to support CityRep and to show the community what excellence really means. Kristen Chenoweth, another one. There are so many people that have come in and out of CityRep. But Don is magical. And Don is unlike any other artistic director that I've ever worked with. Don can, like I said, bring people together who maybe have never met each other, and they can create a family and a community. And in that short 6 weeks of time, doing those weekend rehearsals, driving up from Dallas or being flown in from New York City and staying at one of the amazing board members' houses, or all of those supporters of CityRep, we were able to create art in an amazingly condensed amount of time that Don, again, fashioned so that he could have the people he wanted here to create the theater that he wanted to create. And I think that's unlike any other artistic director in the nation, really. And because of that, that's the reason that CityRep is here, celebrating its 20th anniversary. He is the one and only reason that it's continued, along with lots of help from his amazing friends. But like I said, Don is one in a million, and he is somebody that hopefully everyone cherishes here. I'm sure you do because you're here tonight, but also that that if you've been touched by Don Jordan and his creativity, then your life has changed forever. And so I just want to thank you, Don, for that. I want to thank you for my husband, Bill Jenkins. I want to thank you for all of the gifts that you've given not only everyone in this room, but really everyone around the country. And I know that there's something in store for you, whether it's that theater we talked about in Hawaii that John Hawley wanted to do, remember, by the way? Or if it's spending your days with Laurel and Sammy in some wonderful paradise. But I know that creativity is always a part of your life, and I know that it won't stop. It's just going to continue to grow and change into something even more wonderful. And the fact that your heart is about service and about serving others, I think that's a testament, and I think we all know that if we're in this room with Don tonight. But we also know that it's going to continue. It's not done. You're just passing the torch onto an amazing woman, and you're very lucky. Where are you? There you are. Okay, you're very, very lucky to be here. Don has created such a community for you to come into, and I know it's just going to grow and flourish. And I'm thrilled to have been a part of it over the years, and I hope to be a continuing part of it. And we're going to continue our lunches at Hojeda's to create our next amazing thing. Okay, I love you very much.
You may recognize him as an actor from various comedies. You may recognize him as a playwright. I recognize him as the world's greatest stage manager, but mostly you probably recognize him as Superman. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Mr. Steve Emerson.
Gee, I really should have made some notes. This is just some random information I carry around about Don because you never know. Let me see what I've got here. I have Don Jordan's list of meds, Don Jordan's list of doctors, Don Jordan's favorite musicals, continued. Continued. That's no good. Let's see. This is a map to where the bodies are buried. Okay, I'm going to keep that to myself. So let's see. I thought of just singing a little song here, or maybe doing an interpretive dance. Don knows the one. But I'll spare you that and just drone on for a while. I have frequently told people that this whole thing is my fault. Because I wrote a play for a producer in Kansas City, and when he asked me who I wanted in the cast, I said Don Jordan, and the career of an equity actor was born. But the truth is, it was all John Holly's fault. He put us together in the first place, and look where that got us. When I first met Don, he was enjoying a very successful career as an overalls model for Oshkosh B'gosh. But then John Holly sent us on a tour of the known universe, and that was the end of that. By my count, Don and I have done 69 shows together. So maybe it's time to get out of the rut. I remember the day he called me and told me he was going to start another theater. I encouraged him the best way I knew how. I said, "Are you nuts? You'll give yourself a heart attack." And he did. And that's when I told my wife I need to go to Oklahoma City and stand between my best friend and his next and final infarction. Fortunately, she said, "I think so too." But retirement? I don't think so. Artists don't retire. Never. We don't choose a life in the theater. It chooses us. And we don't do it because it's a nice way to make a living. It ain't. We do it because it's who we are. We do it because we can't do anything else, and we'll keep doing it until it's impossible to do it anymore. That's just who we are. We don't choose to retire. Besides, Don Jordan will never let me off the hook that easily. Better to think of this as a transition, sort of like a dinosaur into a chicken. Now, I could stand here and I could run down the list of awards and accolades that Don and CityRep have received. Well, why not? Maybe I will. The Governor's Arts Award, National Theater Award, the Emmy Award, proclamations from the mayor, the governor, Actors Equity Association, Theater Communications Group, Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, Ringling Brothers. No, wait. That was a cease and desist order. All right. But really, I want to tell you about a conversation I had with Michael Jones. Michael, as most of you know, was the artistic associate at CityRep, as well as the front of the house manager, grant writer, Emmy Award-winning director, brilliant actor. We lost Michael in January of 2020. And since he can't be here to say these things, I'll do it for him. I want to make sure I get this right. Michael and I were having lunch one day a few years ago, and this is what he said. When I first came to OCU, Don was the BMOC, at least in the theater department. He was a senior, I was a freshman, he was in everything, and I was nobody. I didn't know anybody, I didn't know where to go, I didn't know what to do, I didn't have any friends. And it wasn't easy to be my friend in those days. But Don went out of his way and sort of took me under his wing and helped me. But I didn't believe he was real. I didn't believe he could be that kind or that generous without having some ulterior motive, without wanting something in return. I didn't trust him. I thought he would pull the rug out from under me at some point, but that didn't happen. And in the years since then, I've learned that is who Don Jordan is. He's done everything for me. Jobs, car loans, insurance, hospital visits, everything. And never asked for anything. And not just me, he's everyone's friend. And I don't think I'd be alive today without him. I miss Michael. I wish he were here. But in the end, it all comes down to this. Don Jordan is the best person I know. He's the best person I have ever known. He's the best person I ever hope to know. My wife told me once, you can always tell a man's character by the friends he keeps. And whenever I meet one of your friends, he's an Eagle Scout. Or he's Don Jordan. So congratulations on 24 years of dedicated service. And when you start the next one, you know where to reach me. Just leave a message. And look, we made a hat where there never was a hat.
Well, that's going to be tough to follow. I want to say something noble and grand and worthy of the moment. I want it not to be too long, but I want it to mean something to you. And the truth is, I thought about coming up with something like that, but I landed on something different. I wanted to say something righteous and present something that moved you, but I've decided I'm going to do something petty. And I'll take you back a little bit. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jerome Stevenson. I, until recently, served as a producing artistic director for the Pollard Theater in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Guthrie, Oklahoma is a small, wonderful place, and somewhere in the cosmos, the gods decided that a resident theater company would be built there. I was fortunate enough to grow up there and then go out into the world and discover a few things, and then get a call from the artistic director then who said, hey, I want you to do a job. And I did a job and worked with them for several years, and then there was a search, and that search produced no result, and then they landed on me. And I was given the gift of serving in this very bizarre club we're members of. And what I decided what I would do is I would call everybody I could get a hold of, everybody who was in my sphere of influence, any director, artistic director that was around. I would ask, what did you do? How did you do this? Why did you make this decision? Weren't you afraid of? Well, why isn't this gonna sell? Well, why doesn't this sell? And all of them said, we don't have any idea. You just go with your gut. And you try to touch people. And so that's what I set out to do. And Guthrie is a difficult place to do that in. Because it turns out they don't like a lot of stuff in Guthrie. But I wanted to do plays. And I wanted to do August Wilson. I wanted to move them with fences. And I wanted to do Lucaja Foe. And they don't like any of that stuff in Guthrie. And so I kept getting to know the audience and kept shaking hands, and I kept making phone calls, and somebody told me to call this weird guy in overalls, Don Jordan. And I did. And I thought, well, that's an act. That's not a real thing. That guy's setting me up for something. I'm gonna give him a north side of Tulsa. You gotta be slick, you gotta be slick. But then I kept meeting with him, and we kept eating lunches. It occurred to me tonight that I could blame all this on you. And he kept giving me good advice and putting me at the table with really good artists. And we kept trying to move people. But it wasn't the artistry that made me go, this is my guy. It was the leadership. Don leads by doing. And the petty thing I'm gonna do is challenge you. That way I get the insecurity off of me, and I feel like, you know. Don makes a personal commitment to see 100 plays a year. Think about that. 100 curtain calls, 100 opening nights. Somewhere in there's gotta be a lot of bad theater. That's just the odds. But yet, while we're thinking, I don't want to go, that's going to be terrible, he's introducing himself to every cast member, every director, every sound guy, and he's saying, keep up the work. And he never comes in and says, it was great. He says, it had some problems, buddy. But keep working. Keep being on time, keep showing up, keep having a good work ethic, keep being kind. That's part of his spiel. Part of the thing I thought was fake. No, he means it. He's still going around quoting It's a Wonderful Life to everybody. But somehow we're taking it in. His generosity exhibits itself when he shows up in classrooms. And those kids are able to ask him about equity, which he sells each one of them on, I'm sure. I'm sure the youngest members of Equity are all there because Don Jordan has signed them up. He made ways for this outlier of an artistic director in the middle of Guthrie, Oklahoma, to do the plays he wanted to do and help him get covered to do them. The Laramie Project, Mountaintop. We did good things together because you were fearless and decent and real. Took me a second to catch up, but I buy it now. So much so that I want to share with you something you've probably seen at your tables, but I don't know if you had a moment to take a look at it. From Theater Communications Group, Oklahoma City Rep was the first year-round Actors Equity Association professional theater in Oklahoma. Don, your leadership has become a beacon for the theater field. You created an organization that demonstrates exactly what a resident professional theater can be in and for its community. At TCG, we state our vision as a better world for theater and a better world because of theater. The world is definitely better. The world is definitely a better place because of you and Oklahoma City Rep. We can be cynical, but we can't deny that's real world people saying you matter. Not only did you make a hat, but it's a hat we want to wear. From Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, I salute all that you have accomplished over the 24 years at the Oklahoma City Rep. Your distinct creative vision, amazing breadth of theatrical know-how, and great good will have built a stunning theater in Oklahoma City, indeed a jewel in the community. Appeals made at Hair and 2 productions of Greater Tuna Through the Normal Heart and 4 beloved productions of A Tuna Christmas, coupled with the welcome you have provided to national tours, doing special evenings for us while in town, have raised well over $120,000 for Broadway Cares. These invaluable resources have in turn allowed us to reach out to theatrical professionals across the country, as well as provide support to social services agencies in Oklahoma, including Other Options and RAIN, Regional AIDS Interfaith Network in Oklahoma City. Your energy, generosity of spirit, and sense of community have rippled well beyond the Oklahoma City Rep stage. Don has often told many of us how he grew. He came up in New York in the 80s, in the heyday that Rent is talking about. That's his leadership. That's my petty challenge. See 100 plays. Bolster the hopes and aspirations of 100 young artists. Find an artistic director of color and say, you can do it. Because he did. I cannot wait to see the next phase of Oklahoma City Rep's journey. I know that you will be an imprint all over it. I know that you will be probably in Kelly's hair more than she wants. Kelly, the most dangerous thing in the world is to get the call that says, you want to go to lunch, pal? I got an idea. Take the lunch. Although she said she could not be here tonight, she made her way to get here. Ladies and gentlemen, with a special little something and a tribute for Mr. Don Jordan, please welcome to the stage, Miss Denise Lee.
So, when I asked Jerome, what's the attire gonna be? And he said, you know, Don will probably want to wear overalls. And I walked in and I'll be damned, we got on overalls. I went. So my friend, I just want you to know, in the words of Zsa Zsa Gabor from Green Acres, darling, I love you, forgive me, Park Avenue. This was as close as I could get to overalls for you today. What can I say, my friend, that has not already been said, that if I start talking too much, I'll cry? You have been just a jewel to me. And if you notice the common thread in everything everybody has said, it's kindness. You exemplify that. You are, as Matt said, if you look it up in the dictionary, there you are. And I can't tell you how much your love and support through just every once in a while, you just get a random Don Jordan quote that lifts your day and makes you feel better about what you do and about who you are. You have been just a constant source of wisdom and support. I will tell you, I've been trying to figure out the year that horrible storm was here in Oklahoma that shut us down for however many years. I didn't know Don, right? And I'm sure we had met. And I came up, it took me 6 hours to get here from Dallas to do a commercial shoot, and I could not get back home. And I get a call. Hi, Denise, this is Don Jordan. And I said, well, hi, how are you? If you need a place to stay, feel free to. Who is this man asking me to stay in his house? Okay, thank you very much, but I think I'm okay. But that's who Don Jordan is. He opens his heart, his home, to anyone who needs it. And I thank you for that. I'm gonna say one more thing and then I've got something for you. How come I didn't get a husband? Just ask. Clearly, I need to work on a show with you as a PSM. Maybe it's got something to do with that.
Okay, you're on the to-do list now.
Well, I'm gonna need you to hurry up. I got new knees now, so we can go jogging and go running. We wanted to do something a little special for you. And so because of the kindness and the lovely fingers of Mr. Jeff Lankoff, I dedicate this to you, my friend. Here it's coming.
It's coming.
Because I'll do it a cappella. Here we go. Yesterday, goodbye. The sweetness and the sorrow. We did what we had to do. But I won't forget what I did for love. What I did for love. Look, my eyes are dry. The gift was ours to borrow. It's as if we always knew. Still, I won't forget what I did for love. God, love is never gone as we travel on. Sweet love is what we'll remember. Kiss the day goodbye. Point me to tomorrow. Wish me luck. I'll do the same to you. Oh, yes, I will. But I won't forget. I can't regret what I did for what I did for love, what you did for love. I love you.
Hey Don, it's your friend Terry Bibb. I am so bummed that I can't be a part of this big shindig that Ruth and Jerome are throwing in honor of you and CityRep's first 20 years. I cannot believe that it was November 22nd, 2002 that I was a part of your opening weekend of shows with the leading ladies. That was such a thrill and an honor. And who would have thought that I'd be back almost 16 years later to be a part of the Music Man in concert with you guys. I don't think it's an overstatement to say that CityRep would not exist if it weren't for you and your tireless leadership and dedication. You will be greatly missed. I'm sending you all my love from the left coast, wishing you the best in your next endeavor and the best to Oklahoma City Rep for its next 20 years. Mwah. And P.S., get some rest, okay?
Hi, Don. It's Lisa Fairchild.
And Kim Titus.
And personally, I just wanted to thank you for working so hard to realize your dream of opening a repertory theater in Oklahoma City and doing such major contribution to the arts in Oklahoma. And also on a personal note, thank you so much, my friend, for giving me the opportunity to perform a bucket list role as Siobhan in The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, which will always be a great memory. Thank you.
And Don, thank you for your work in Oklahoma, where you gave so much to the Dallas-Fort Worth community by hiring Dallas-Fort Worth actors like her and many, many others. And we're ready to have you back here.
We'll see you soon, my friend. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Don.
Hi, I'm Steven Smeltzer, coming to you from Vero Beach, Florida. My connection with CityRep and Donald Jordan started back in 2009 when I joined the musical theater faculty at UCO. Since then, we've done numerous productions together, collaborating on musicals. In 2011, I believe it was my first one, which was the Oklahoma premiere of the Great American Trailer Park musical, which I directed and choreographed. I'd also done the national tour. I also choreographed Godspell with Jonathan Beck Reed at the helm directing, and most recently the pop love rock opera Hair, which was a big success both for UCO and for CityRep. I thank Donald Jordan so much for all his contributions over the years, and especially supporting our students and coming to many of my classes to give information and his perspective on Actors Equity Association. We kind of consider him the father of equity. Don, have a great next chapter. You're a blessing there in Oklahoma City, and good luck. We love you.
Many congratulations to you, Don Jordan, on this, your retirement, although I think we all know better. This isn't the end, it's just the beginning of a new chapter. Hi, I'm Greg White, fellow theater artist, clearly fan of Don Jordan, and the director of musical theater here at the University of Central Oklahoma. That's important because UCO Musical Theater and CityRep have collaborated on so many fantastic projects. Zombie Prom, the Oklahoma premiere of the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, the Great American Trailer Park musical, which we realized was redundant to produce here in Oklahoma, Godspell, and of course, the most recent, the award-winning production of Hair. Don, your work on Hair is truly unparalleled. Congratulations to you. Many of you know that Don and I share a mentor, the late, great Carveth Osterhaus. Don worked with him at OCU. I worked with him here at UCO. He would be smiling tonight, Don, saying, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And that's what Carveth instilled in both of us, is that servant's heart, the artist heart, and the mentor heart. Don, you've been such a beautiful mentor to so many, but I want to tell you tonight that you are a mentor to me. I appreciate the years of collaboration and inspiration. It makes me think of the Maltby and Shire musical, Baby, the song, The Story Goes On. Yes, all that is part of me, as I am part of what's to be, and thus it is our story goes on and on and on and on. Congratulations, Don. I love you.
Hi everyone, it's Stacy Logan, and I hate that I'm missing this party. How I wish I were there with you tonight to celebrate Don and his many years at the helm of CityRep. Now, I first met Don probably at OCU, but I didn't really get to know him until 2006. Michael Jones called me up one day in New York out of the blue and told me about this new theater company that he and some OCU friends were starting, and he asked me to do a play. Well, I'd only done musicals up to that point, so this was a real gift. And then he says it's a one-woman play. Well, that scared the hell out of me, so I said yes. And that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship with Don Jordan. Now, sadly, Michael Jones passed away several years ago. He was a co-founder of the company and an artistic associate and a great director, an actor, and friend. And I am forever grateful to him for bringing me into the CityRep family. And I have to say, Don, thank you for supporting Michael all these years and for being a true and steadfast friend. You really cared for him. And I know that was challenging because he was a private man and a proud man, and he didn't want help, but sometimes he really needed it. And you were always there for him, and I thank you. Now, I know that you ate, drank, and slept CityRep for all these years. You know, my husband once told me when you run a company, you're not like everyone else. You can't just go home and have dinner and forget about work. It's always there. It's always on your back. And you put your heart and soul and sweat and determination and talent into running CityRep, and the community of Oklahoma City and all of us in this room benefited. I know I did. Working at CityRep brought me such great joy. And I know I'm a much better actress because of the work that you allowed me to do. So, thank you. I will miss our Saturday lunches at Joey's. I will miss your lilting tenor in those slightly too long curtain speeches. I will miss Sunday coffee and donuts. And I will miss your big warm hugs. Cheers to you, my friend. And long live OKC Rep.
As you can see, when we were putting this together, we really wanted to match Don's tone for the evening. And we thought to bring him up on stage, there would be no better choice than a man who's worked with him countless numbers of times, who has been committed to a partnership with Don since the beginning of Oklahoma City Rep, a true stage partner, an actor of gifts and abilities, an actor who, no matter when Don calls, he's right there, ready to go, always prepared to go on. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jonathan Beck-Reed. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jonathan Beck-Reed. Jonathan Beck-Reed! Unfortunately, Jonathan was not able to join us tonight. As I found out about 5 minutes before I got here. However, he did want to send his love and regards and asked me if I would read his written statement, and I said I would do it! Because I'm that kind of an idiot. Good evening. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I regret that I'm not able to be there with you in person tonight. But I couldn't let this occasion pass without expressing my deepest appreciation to Cliff and the Board of Directors for their full and abiding commitment to supporting our efforts in serving our growing community in Oklahoma City arts. Great things lay ahead for CityRep as we transition into the next 20 years, and none of it would be possible without your consistent generosity and zealous support. So thank you. And secondly, there are no words to adequately express my love and appreciation to my dear lifelong friend and partner in all good things, Donald Jordan. I've been told to say a few words, so I'll keep it brief. But if time were no consequence, a world of no consequence, I could hold this room for days expounding the virtues of this exceptional man. Simply put, Don is the best person I've ever known. We were best friends from the moment Elaine Fitterer introduced us in August of 1979 and have remained so for the past 42 years. It was as if in that moment we shook hands, that 1,000 conversations and shared experiences had already happened. We knew each other in a way we had no right to, and I somehow knew that this very kind and genuine new friend of mine would somehow factor significantly into my life. I didn't know then that we would one day join with a small group of other OCU friends and found what would become a highly respected award-winning regional equity theater right here in OKC. But had you told me way back then that we would, and Donald would be our fearless leader, I would have believed you. Don was then and always has been a leader, consistent, reliable, and unwilling to ever give up on anyone or anything he's committed to himself to. I often contend that Don should be canonized and named a saint. I myself have seen him perform at least 3 miracles keeping CityRep alive in the last 20 years. And I would proudly hang a St. Jordan medal around my neck. Though his parting is bittersweet, he's laid an impressive and enviable foundation to pass along to incoming artistic director Kelly Kerwin and the new administration. After having had lunch with Kelly and Don last week at El Chico, we knew that going in. I feel energized and enthusiastic and absolutely giddy about the future of our beloved theater that Don wanted to name the Ariel Porcine Theater Company. I'll let you all figure out that one. Thank God he lost that vote. It may have been his one bad idea in a life and career filled with many good ones. Lastly, thank you to all of you for supporting us. You're loved and appreciated beyond measure. Here's to the next 20 years of changing people's lives through the magic of theater. Just because it was a cute letter doesn't mean I don't get to make fun of him, so I did a thing at the beginning. We also have our dear friend, Mr. Scott Hamilton. Please, welcome to the stage.
Good evening, friends. Last time I saw Don was at lunch, as a matter of fact. Looking around the room, you can tell those of us who have had a bunch of lunches with Don and those who have not. But at that lunch, he invited me to say a few words about the talkbacks that were so important on some of the CityRep productions. And when I got the invitation, I was thrilled, but then I saw the dress code that said overalls. I decided in your honor I was going to go buy a pair of overalls. $34.99. I have suits that didn't cost that much. When Don and I met, CityRep was in the midst of rehearsals for Normal Heart. And he told me what he wanted in a community partner, and I was only so thrilled to step in to do that. In our discussion, and the night before the show opened, we actually did, this was the very early days of podcasts, but we did a video cast with Don and the cast. And as we were sitting there, it was Don and Michael, Jonathan, Renee Moreno, and we were talking about what New York was like in the 80s. We all lived there, and I didn't know any of them before that. And as we talked, the gravity of the show really hit me hard. It was a show I knew, but sitting on that stage, even before the show opened, there was a solemnity. The first night that we did a talkback, I was so impressed with the people of Oklahoma City who stayed, who listened, who asked questions, because they were so moved by that experience. There were a number of those, and as As we all know, whether it's actor or theater goer, there are no two audiences that are the same. So the very same show, the audience on one night responds very differently than the audience the next. But one show stands out for me in the commonality of the audiences, and that was the Amish Project. There was only a breath of a tie with the Oklahoma City bombing. At least that's what it would have been had the show been somewhere else. But downtown Oklahoma City, a few blocks from where the Murrah building stood, the audiences came and they weren't ready to leave. They wanted to stay in that theater and talk about not just the experience of what they had seen that night, but what they had felt the years before. And finally, another one that really stands out for me, and that's during prior rendering. It was a Sunday afternoon, and one of the audience members asked the question. He said, "Did you all catch a lot of hell for doing this show?" Because it had a gay theme. And I was moderating, and I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, I live in Oklahoma City now. And I said, "But where are you from?" "Well, I moved here 3 months ago," and he named a small town in Oklahoma, not far from here. But his question showed the disconnect between a metropolitan area and small town Oklahoma. But the experience of being in that theater drew him in and made him feel a part of something so that he could be himself, even if it was for only 2 hours in a dark theater. These are the things that change people's lives. This is the work that I have been so blessed to be on the periphery of, watching, learning from Don. He actually even encouraged me to go back to acting. And to the chagrin of audiences everywhere, I did. Before I sit down, I want to say what an honor it was every night, after every performance, that I had the pleasure of hosting a talkback, because I learned something from the cast, I learned something from the audience, and I've never been in your presence, never been on the phone with you, never been in an email chat where I didn't learn something, where I didn't think, where I didn't grow just a little bit. I have something I want to share with you from a mutual friend of ours. I'll read it quickly. I spoke to him this afternoon. He apologized. The original was supposed to have been here this week. It was not. He explained that he had been very busy and said that the original would be here in the next week or so. So I'm reading to you from this draft that I received this afternoon. Dear Mr. Jordan, as you graduate to Artistic Director Emeritus of CityRep, you leave a powerful legacy that will not soon be forgotten. Your parents, humble servants in the Salvation Army, clearly taught you the importance of opening your heart to all people, because that is what you have done in your career. Your love for people of Oklahoma is evidenced by the countless hours you've spent traveling on I-35 for the past 2 decades. But your devotion to others began long before that. Your artistic leadership in the theater has been recognized by people around the world as an actor, director, producer, set designer, artistic director. You have given people permission to laugh and to cry, to find solace, to think. And of greatest importance, you have given theater goers the opportunity to feel. The importance of the arts in general, and live theater in particular, cannot be overestimated. There is an intimacy in the theater that simply can't be replicated on the screen. Watching a play has transformative power and connects those on stage with those of us in the audience. In short, the theater makes the world just a little smaller, and for that we should all be grateful. Your patience and dedication to young people in the theater has helped foster new generations of performers and vast new audiences. You have demonstrated leadership through humility and have helped countless professionals to further their own careers as you stood aside as both coach and friend. There's no doubt that the transition will prove challenging for you. I know with certainty, though, that you will never really retire from the theater. It is in your blood and will be forever. Thank you for all you have done to make our world a little brighter, a little friendlier, and a whole lot better. Your work will live forever in the hearts and minds of everyone who has ever seen your work on stage or off. Your country owes you a debt of gratitude, and I offer you that on behalf of all Americans. Sincerely yours, Joseph R. Biden, President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we bring the gentleman to the stage, we couldn't think of anything in a gesture and in a gift that would express our feeling for Don Jordan. So what we did is we got the original sign-in sheet from the company that built CityRep. This is the symbol. This is where the work started. This is the work that we are so grateful for you to have done and so grateful that you have handed off to Kelly. We know that it is in good hands, and we thank you for your work, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Mr. Donald Jordan.
Okay, that was a pretty good run through. I got a couple of notes. So, the first note is it's very odd, and I think there's a misplaced focus that we need to fix in the scene. That is, everybody in this room built CityRep, and I'm a very small and amazingly fortunate part of that. So I have a thank you for every one of you here, but if I go around to the tables and do that, it will be like one of my pre-show curtain speeches. So I will attempt to do that. It's very hard not to thank you all because you built it. Just really quickly, I was talking with my friend Brandy a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about a couple of things. One of the things is that every time I see her, she quotes to me Thornton Wilder and how he said, I regard the theater as the greatest of all art forms, the most immediate way in which a human being can share with another a sense of what it is to be a human being. Well, you know, I mean, I'm tired of hearing her say that, but it's a really great quote. It's terrific, and it is in fact the essence of what the theater art can do to make the world a better place. And it's what you all have done to make the world a better place. It's a remarkable thing that strangers in this time when things can be so fractured can come together into a room and laugh and cry and think and share and become community and remember the part that is best about each of us. And you heard, I think it was Jerome who quoted a quote that we said to each other all the time from Mr. Sondheim, who is as close to a deity as we have currently walking on the planet. Look, we made a hat where there never was a hat. It's the essence of our life together as creative people. There was no year-round equity TCG theater in Oklahoma. There had never been. And now there is one. We dreamed it together at OCU. We traveled with that dream around the country. Jonathan, who's right on time for his call, he and I once toured together in the Broadway show 42nd Street, and we would share the dressing room instead of each be in our own dressing rooms, so that we would talk night after night about how we might build that theater and how wouldn't it be great if we could build that theater. Wouldn't it be Oklahoma City needs that theater, and it would be a way we could give back for everything that Oklahoma City has given to us. Because as I look around this room, I look at all the things that Oklahoma City gave to us. There are so many friends here. There are many friends here that I've met all along the way of the theater, and I have been the least talented, luckiest guy in the room for 45 years. And I just keep thinking every time that they're going to figure out they meant the other Don Jordan, but I already signed the contract, so they at least have to pay me for 2 weeks. And for that, I thank Actors Equity. So, you know, it's just constant. So there were just a couple of quotes that I wanted to share with you. One of them is, tell me with whom you associate, and I will tell you who you are. I associate with you all. And I am the luckiest guy in the American theater because I'm trying to learn to play up to the level of competition that's in this room. You guys are aces, and I'm just lucky to be in the club, and I'm grateful. And this is for my mom and dad, who I really owe so much to. My father is still the finest man that I ever knew. And I'm about to turn 63 or 39 for the 49th time. And I can still say that clearly. Brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. That's Philippians, that's 4:8. But not only think about them, in this room, all of you did them. Look, we made a hat where there never was a hat. For those of you, especially my dear friends, if you look over there at that whole long line of the table, that is the history of the first 20 years of CityRep, starting with the founders down there on the right and chronologically moving along as our art and our recognition grew. And yeah, I did a great deal of children's theater in my life and enjoy it because I think that's how we grow the next generation. So this quote comes from a favorite story of mine. Why did you do all this for me? Wilbur asked. I don't deserve it. Well, you have been my friend, replied Charlotte. And that in itself is a tremendous thing. It's from Charlotte's Web. And you all have been my friend. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. Not just for the sheer selfish joy of the creativity, but for the fact that we did it in a noble and engaging purpose. That we built something that was needed and that serves and is of purpose. And then this one I think is very appropriate to me. Mr. George Bernard Shaw wrote this one. A life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than a life spent doing nothing. You know, the thing about the theater is that we fail successively better. You start on the first rehearsal, and if you were good then, you wouldn't waste all that money on rehearsals for 5 weeks, right? You just sort of stink a little less every night. in this desperate last-minute life or death struggle to actually get good enough to sell the tickets by the time the people who bought the tickets show up. So there's just that constant feeling, that creativity, that stepping into the unknown, like Stacey Jane talked about. We do that with every single production. We do that all the time. You know, no matter, the thing about the theater is that it demands integrity. There are no laurels other than mine. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you were great yesterday. It doesn't matter if you were great in Act One. It doesn't matter if you were great one line ago. If you take your eye off the ball of serving the play, and through the play, serving the community, and serving the art, and serving the world, in the moment that you look up from that, you have dropped the ball and you stink. Or in the case of Greater Tuna, you don't have pants on. So you must stay focused. And you know, there's Heidi, God bless, Heidi Wallace-Lefwich is here, and she dressed every production of Tuna that we did in the history of the theater. 48 fast changes a night, 6 different productions, all of them running. I'm telling you, that's a lot of sweaty clothes and Jonathan and I looking panicked in the dark. And so that's incredible. And you know what she got out of it, Denise? A husband. Kurt proposed to her after one of the shows. I'm working on it. So there's one more quote that I would say to all of you, but this one most especially I would say to Laurel, who is my reason for everything. And this is from a kid who I think has shown some promise. He hasn't really done anything lately, but he's getting there. I can no other answer make, but thanks and ever thanks. That's a Shakespeare guy. Had a nice movie out a few years ago. He's good. He's getting there. So I thank all of you for joining me in this project that together we did. This thing that we built, that we gave to Oklahoma City, which gave so many of us so very much that we can never really repay. Like Greg mentioned, there are mentors, mainly gone on now, who are watching us tonight. Carveth Osterhaus, Claire Jones, Bob Varga. Bob lived long enough to actually see shows at CityRep, and the last play he ever saw was Tuna Christmas, and there's a picture of him in his wheelchair with Jonathan and I after a show. But they passed that torch to us with generosity and support. I probably still owe 2 parking tickets and a paper at OCU. And so Kelly, who I have really become friends with now, that's what I say to you. We're passing this torch to you. And like in every generation, we want you, we expect you, we require of you to do better. Be the next generation. Don't just put the second story on, heck, put the third story on too. And you know, if it costs a little more, just twist Cliff's arm, that's okay. Take him to lunch. So we are all here for you, however much, or I promise, however little you need. We are here for you. We believe in you. We believe in this work. And truly, I am so grateful to each of you that I could carry on like a pre-show speech for hours and go around and thank each and every one of you. Steve, Jerome, Rick, thank you guys for putting this thing together tonight, you know? It was kind of interesting. I planned out the regular logistics for the party when I found out about it, and it was because that was the kind of thing I always did. But it was like, oh, yeah, but I can't plan that part in the middle. That's going to be really weird. Maybe like 2 minutes of Rodney Dangerfield, and it's nice that you're all here. Thank you very much. We can go home now. So, tip your waiters. So, but I appreciate you guys for that. But for so much more, look, we made a hat where there never was a hat. I love you guys.
We thank you all for joining us this evening. We thank you all for coming and having this moment with Ruth and Don and myself. On behalf of everybody involved, we just appreciate you being here. Take the rest of the evening to mingle, talk to the man of the hour. Make sure you give him his flowers while he's here, because then he'll go off to Dallas and we won't see him for a while. Thank you all and good night.
Yeah.